James Gillen with BBS Radio. We've got a great show tonight. I have a few announcements to make real quick. Leslie Keene, who was going to be on the last show, couldn't make it due to Bud Hopkins having some kind of an illness. They had to take him to the hospital, so she had her hands full that night. So send some blessings off to Bud and Leslie, and hope they get through whatever challenges they have. And we'll get her back on the show here real soon. There's so many things going on. I'm going to skip some of the other announcements because we've got a great show tonight. If anybody has been watching the news or been on the Internet, I'm sure you've all heard about this, but it's been aired all over the news. CNN, Fox News, I don't know how many other stations have aired this. But our guest tonight, Robert Salas, has been kind of blowing the lid off the UFO cover-up. And he was captain of the U.S. Air Base, Malmstrom, hope I said that right, and he's the author of Failed Giant, and there's been a lot of activity over 5 different bases in 5 different states where UFOs have actually interacted with nuclear missiles and shut them down in some cases and activated them in others, and just kind of played with our technology. So anyway, to cover this, we're going to bring Robert on the show. Robert, are you with us?
I'm with you, James. Thank you for inviting me.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show, and especially I have to commend you on the courage and the integrity you have in bringing this information out. I know what it's like to be on the edge of this and bringing this kind of information out, and I'm sure you're having all kinds of daggers and other things thrown at you, and character assassinations, a few other things that come with this process.
Yes, right. There's always some skeptics out there. I know there's been one individual in particular. I won't mention his name because I don't want to give him any more options than he's already had. But if people want to check on how, what I have for evidence, in my case, I think I've got a very strong case. They can go to the UFO Chronicles. That's theUFOchronicles.com. And they go down the right side there, go down to some of the stories I've written. They'll see my photograph, and just click on the first one. I think it says My Evidence, and that'll give everybody a kind of a rundown of what kind of evidence I have to support my case. I can briefly go over that now if you like.
Yeah, I would love to. First of all, I wanted to, with your record and, you're in charge of nuclear missiles, and, they don't put crackpots in charge of nuclear missiles.
I hope not.
You guys have your finger on the trigger, basically, so, it doesn't make any sense for them to even try to, attack your character or anything else, because that would be a real bad mark on their side as far as who they're putting in control of things. But obviously they are, but we can go further than that. But to me, it's like that's a no-brainer. They should just throw that one out. And just the bottom line is that you wouldn't be in the position you were in if you weren't of a very noble character and high integrity, and and didn't fantasize around things.
Well, thanks for those comments, James. I try to be straightforward with people. But again, there'll always be people that won't trust you. I guess that's kind of the society we live in today. It's don't trust whatever anybody tells you until you check it all out. But that's fine. I've been speaking about this for 15 years, over 15 years. This is the 3rd time actually I've been to the National Press Club and talked to the press. But this certainly was the most rewarding time. Let's put it that way. We had a full house at the press club, and by luck or other reason, we had CNN decide to do a live streaming recording, taping of the show, and so millions of people saw it around the world, I'm sure. And as a result of that, all the other stations, mainstream stations, wanted to jump on the bandwagon. So yeah, we got Fox in there, and then we got MSNBC. You name it, CBS, ABC. I've been on a show for the Canadian Broadcasting Company, and Mr. Hastings also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's been great, fantastic.
The information that I've been seeing going out on the net and just on the news and everything else is just phenomenal. And for some reason, this time it has just taken off like a wildfire. And and with the list of people and the credentials there, I don't even see how they could even consider there even being a cover-up anymore. It's like the cat's out of the bag for any reasonable mind.
Yeah, well, again, I won't mention his name, but somebody in Canada, actually, I think, contacted the Air Force at NORAD headquarters, and then also Air Force headquarters, and tried to get a comment from them. And they're sticking to their current policy, which was first stated back in 1969 after the Condon Committee. Mm-hmm. You probably know about that, and some of your guests, Condon Committee investigated UFOs. But after that, that whitewash, the Air Force said, well, these things don't mean much to us. They're not affecting national security. So we're not even going to look at them anymore. But here we've got 7 good men and true. We all signed affidavits with, in front of a notary public. In telling our stories, we put those down on paper and signed affidavits. By the way, if your listeners want to see those affidavits, they can go to my website because I've got them up there now, and that is spiralgalaxy.org, spiralgalaxy.org.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love to talk about, first of all, maybe you can talk about your experience there for those who haven't heard, and exactly what happened there, and then we can go into some of the evidence around that you compiled.
Sure. In 1967, I was a young first lieutenant stationed at Malmstrom Air Force Base. I was a missile launch officer, and basically my duties were to crew up with another man, would be the missile crew commander. That was Fred Mywald in this case. Fred's still alive and well. And we were sent out to Oscar Flight. Oscar Flight is, just to explain to your listeners, I was a member of the 490th Squadron, and we had 5 different flights of 10 missiles in our squadron. Each flight has 10 missiles, like I said. These are called launch control facilities where we would go to. Oscar Flight was about 100 miles east of the city of Great Falls, Montana. And so we were out there on the evening of March 24th, 1967. I get a call from my guards upstairs. We are underground, by the way, in a concrete capsule. It's what we call it's protected from nuclear blast. Anyway, it's underground, hardened is the word I was thinking of, hardened cap. And we've got 4 to 5 guards upstairs. Depends. And so the first call I get from the guard, he's saying they're observing lights in the sky. They're making strange maneuvers, going very fast, stopping on a dime, reversing direction, going 90-degree turns and that sort of thing. And they're silent, not making any noise. He says they're not aircraft. And he was concerned about this, but I didn't quite. I didn't get it, I guess, at first. I didn't think much of it. I had really not thought much about UFOs at that time. So anyway, I kind of hung up the phone, and then he calls back in about 5 minutes. And this time he's very frightened. You can tell by his voice. He's scared to death. He's got all the men out there with their guns, their weapons drawn, and they're looking at this object. He said they're looking at a glowing red, pulsating object. It's oval-shaped, about 30 feet in diameter, and it's just sitting above the front gate. It's just hovering there, silently, and it's got everybody freaked out. He wanted me to tell him what to do next, and I think I told him to make sure the perimeter fence is protected and nothing gets in. So I hung up the phone. And first thing I thought, we might be under some kind of a terrorist attack. I go to wake up my commander who's taking a nap. And just as I'm starting to tell him about the phone calls, the missiles start going in a no-go condition. In other words, became disabled. So we got 10 red lights across the board while this object was still up there. We go through a checklist procedure, of course, and my commander calls the command post back in Malmstrom. Pardon me. Mm-hmm. And we also have security light violations. So I call back upstairs at that point and asked the guard if that object is still there, and he said, no, it's gone off. It flew off at high speed, and then I directed the two of the the security teams, we call them SAT teams, go out to these two launch facilities and check on these so-called incursions or incursions around the perimeter fence of launch facilities. Mm-hmm. Those are the indicators we had. And so the teams go out there, and sure enough, they report seeing more UFOs out there. So again, and then the next thing I recall vividly was my commander turning to me and saying the same thing happened at another flight, and that's one of the more vivid memories I have. So that's basically it. We were told to report back to our squadron commander when we were relieved the next morning. I walked into the squadron commander's office. He's white as a sheet. He's an old World War II pilot. He flew B-17s in Europe. And, he's seen just about everything, but he was white as a sheet. He didn't know what the hell happened. And I asked him, was this an Air Force exercise? And he said, no, absolutely not. And also in the room there was the man from Air Force Office of Special Investigations. That's the FBI of the Air Force, I guess. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he really wasn't all that interested in our story. He just wanted us to sign a document saying we would never talk about it again, and that it was now classified secret. We were never to talk to anybody about it, including other airmen, our spouses, nobody. And so I didn't. Not until 1994. You want me to go on?
Yeah, so in 94, was there a reason why you decided to come out and talk about it? Was there some kind of a lifting of this secrecy or a Freedom of Information Act or something that opened this up?